Whoa, we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, you once again welcome to the Kingdoms podcast. And I have with me a professional MMA fighter with the Bellator. He is undefeated with a professional record of 10-0, fighting out of Drogheda, Ireland. Welcome, Ciaran Clarke. How are you, brother?
Thanks for the intro.
Oh yeah, you weren't expecting to get a Bruce Buffer introduction, man. Yeah. How are you doing? Congrats on your fight.
Thanks, man. Thanks. All is good. Just healing up and enjoying the few days with my family and my friends and yeah, enjoying it, man.
Wow, nice. And of course, like I told you earlier, it's really, nice and surreal given the fact that, I was right there on the cage side watching you. These guys behind me, and then just before the fight, they were asking who's gonna win, and then I told them that guy's gonna win.
All right, down before me.
And then, reached out, and then we now have you on the podcast. Wow. Man, it's really nice, How does it feel still staying undefeated, in the sport?
Man, it's amazing. It's very hard to look at from where I started to now to be 10-0, and it's it's kind of like, to be honest, I got that kind of little bit of like pinch me moment when I was there in Wembley. We were just walking around but, wow, this is unreal. Like, the opportunity to go 10-0, all my family's here, and it's in Wembley, so it's very special, man.
Yeah, I see. Your family actually did come give that support. They were waving those lights, at the top of the arena. Like, whoa, so much support. The Irish will always support their own.
Always show up for me, and it makes a difference. It always makes a difference with the atmosphere of the fights, and yeah, it's brilliant. Even when I nearly had that choke in the third round, they were like, I could really feel them.
Yeah, almost. Whoa, but then your opponent is a tough guy.
Yeah, of course, man. He was a tough guy. He took it in short notice, but nobody takes fights notice if they're and he came in great shape, and like I said, nobody a short notice fight if they're not in there to win, or they think they can win, or they think they're in shape, and yeah, like that, like that's it. Like, I kind of had that in my head as well. I was like this guy thinks he can beat me in short notice as well, so like he's well up for it, And yeah, he was a great opponent. He pro fights, doubly experienced I have professionally, and it showed in there. He was experienced, and Lord in the night, I was just, I won in the night, I was the better man. But yeah, he was a tough opponent. He was tricky, and yeah, definitely not to be a fella taken lightly, and I knew that going in. So like I said, thank God to get the win,
Yeah, so something I really appreciate about you in that moment was you did show respect to your opponent, after the fight, even thanking him for taking it on short notice. And of course, like, you also did, acknowledge God in the victory. I think those two things really stood out for me, and like kind of made your stock rise, in my own books, right? Like, it has actually made me to respect you more, or when I get to interview people on the podcast, I like to get to know about their childhood, because in order to understand, an adult human being, you need to understand where they're coming from. So can you give us some light on your childhood? What was your growing up like?
So I suppose it's a broad question, but I'll answer it as as generic as possible. I was reared. I was the eldest of four in our house. I was reared with my mother, single parent mother, and my nanny. We lived in our nanny's house for a couple of years. Then we got a house then, and we moved in to our home here now. But yeah, like that was, I suppose to mention it. You mentioned that I was very Catholic, and we always had, great faith, and that has, got me to where I am today,
Key is key, man. It's key to success in life, bro. Like, always keeping that faith.
Oh, listen, it's been everything for me, and even, so that's how you were reared, and like that growing up, I was kind of the older brother to my siblings, and I kind of took I took it serious to be like that kind of in my own little head as a kid, like that kind of protector, or that kind of, obviously my dad we didn't live with our dad, so like, I had this kind of like man of the house type of, mentality as a little kid. So
yeah,
that kind of got me into martial arts. Then it was like, right, you need to be able to, defend yourself, or and I always I always took that as a big responsibility as a little kid, like, so that's what got me into martial arts, and I always had an interest of it growing up. Myself and my brother were always, we were always killing each other when we were growing up, so it was always that kind of just that love for it, and just that kind of I don't know, it was just we loved the WWE growing up and that type of thing, so
you grew up in Ireland,
so
right?
yeah, exactly. So we just, it was that kind of thing growing up, and it obviously led me into martial arts and mixed martial arts, sorry, and that's it. I just found it at 15, and just that's nearly 15 years ago now. I never stopped and just loved it and competed, and never thought that I'd go professional or anything. It was just, it was just taking each day as I can as a teenager, just loving the train and loved how hard it was. Yeah, and then here I am here now. I'm telling I was professional, and just to go back to my faith there, giving thanks to God for everything. But like you said, my stock is rising in your opinion. But to be honest,
Yes.
that's all glory to God. That's not me. That's in there. That's God give me the victory. Give me the victory. And I never, another thing people might think, you must pray to win. I never pray to win. What I pray for is in times of trouble, in there when I'm in trouble or when I need help, that I think of Jesus, and I know He will always, He will always answer me call. And whether that's winning or losing, that's God's will. That's not up to me. But as far as so far, I've gotten the wins, and that's just it. I always pray to, for the health of both of the opponents. Of course, the consequences of fighting is to hurt each other, but it, serious harm to each other. I don't want, the two of us come out there back to our families. At the end of the day, it's a sport, so that's it for me, really. At the end of the day, like I said, I wouldn't be where I am today without it. That's just it, really.
Wow, fantastic one. Okay, just in case you don't know, at the front row, right? I was there with some friends to our Bellator CEO, James, right? So just to give you a sneak peek, those guys were very impressed with your performance.
Great stuff, great stuff.
So this is me just telling you what happened, right there, because they were all asking, okay, for at the beginning of each fight, they were just always asking, which guy's gonna win, which guy's gonna lose, and even at the end, in between rounds, yeah, I think after the third round, right, when the judges are collating the scorecards, and then they ask, okay, what do you think the scorecards are gonna look like? Okay, he nearly submitted the guy. Do you think the judges will give him a 10-8? So they will always just try to, collate the scorecards in their head before the judges announce it. So it was quite fun, great event. There was a lot of support in there. Yeah, the Irish people came in to support their own. I like that, right? And of course, it was my very first time at a Bellator event, and I like the organization. I like, the way it was all put together. It was really, really, really fantastic. I do like it. Big ups to
big time,
Bellator.
big time. And
Yeah.
Bellator always been good to me, and they've always, they're all about the fighters, and it's been only a great time. I'm with them now 5 years now, so I mean, it's been brilliant from the start to the finish. I've started my professional career with them, and it's been brilliant, so my third contract in, and it's great that we have this platform to be able to showcase our skills and in these amazing arenas. It's brilliant.
Wow, fantastic. Now, you've had out of SBG Ireland, right?
Yes.
Whoa, that's where the big name is, Conor McGregor.
Yes.
So what's up? Like, what's your relationship with Conor McGregor?
Actually, up until like last year, there wasn't, Conor is such a busy man. He's the biggest guy in the sport ever, and that ever will be. And
The biggest name in the sport, bro.
Yeah. I shared the mat with him before and stuff, but like never got to know the guy or anything. But then actually last year, he invited me to train with him in France,
Wow.
to a training camp for 2 weeks, and so I was able to go over to Conor, and he put me up, and we were able to do a lot of training for 2 weeks, and I got to know Conor a little bit, and I'm forever grateful for that opportunity, because that was brilliant, to be around the best ever, you know what I mean, and so it was a great experience, and to get to know him a bit, and even still to this day, he'd message me and wish me luck. Just even like normal day-to-day things, he might reply to me and say, and it's amazing to think that I have the to even think that he knows who I am, or that I've even got to train.
Yeah.
He follows me, and it's brilliant.
Yeah, I see he follows you on Instagram as well.
Yeah. So it's brilliant to get that. Like I said, I was away with my stuff, and yeah, it was amazing. It was a great experience, and even the contacts I made through Conor to this day is, stands to me now to this day, and I'm forever grateful for that trip. And like I said, to see how the best ever does that, and yeah, it's brilliant, man. It's of course, Conor inspired a lot, all of us young Irish fighters coming up, and yeah, like what he done to this day will never be replicated. Nobody's even scratched the surface to even coming close to what he's done, and yeah, I mean, obviously, of course, everybody in this sport owes him a lot in the sense of I'm able to make a living out of this, and yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's really amazing. You put it, quite correctly. It's really amazing the things Conor McGregor has done for the sport. And I think this is quite documented, probably from some previous podcasts, some, analysis that I've done in the past, for MMA. Conor was the one who brought me into the sport of MMA. So Conor brought a lot of people, a lot of eyes into the sport, right? And he brought that interest, for MMA, right? So I'm Nigerian. So when, Conor brought me into the sport, then I discovered that, there were like there were Nigerians like myself in the sport, like Israel Adesanya, Kamaru Usman, and boom, the interest just packed. And down the line, I think I started watching MMA like around 2018, and now, whoa, like I've been able to, go to MMA events, speak to fighters, across the world. It's really, really amazing. And one thing I love about the sport is the fact it's a growing sport.
Yes.
It's pretty much a growing sport, unlike football, boxing, that have been there. And to see the exponential growth that, MMA has had since 1993 up to now, it's really, really amazing. But for you, looking at Conor, do you think, given the massive things he's achieved in the sport and the kind of wealth he's been able to gather for himself, do you think he's going to fight again?
I'm not sure. I really don't know. I can't really answer that. I do know one thing's for sure. Conor's, from doing that bit of training with him, last year and afterwards, a bit of it, but he's, his, the body gets old, but Conor's mind and not that he's old. I suppose in the sport he's old. He's 35 or, but I think if it was football, I think the Saudi Arabians would be looking to come and take him. That's the kind of joke that they say when you hit 30 in football, they kind of think you're old. But as far as fighting, you're talking early 30s. That's the average of a UFC champion. So like, I mean,
Yeah, that's like the peak.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, like I said, going back to what I was saying, his eyes for it and his mind is still fresh, and he's still like, he's still sharp. He's still very sharp, and he's as sharp as anyone. You know what I mean? And that's the main thing. I think, like, if the body's willing, but maybe the brain's not in that sense. Like, maybe of course the mind, body, and spirit is all in one. But I think he's so sharp still. So I think while he still has that, I'd love to see him fight again. And I think the right fights, I think, the right fight to get him back in and to make it exciting, and I think there is those fights out there for him. But I'd love to see him fight again, like I said, of course, but I really don't know if he will. Of course, he's a family now of, 4 kids, and he's his partner there, and he's done everything in the sport, and he's obviously his business endeavors as well. And I don't know, he's a busy man, I don't know how he could split his time between all these things, but I for one would love to see it. And I think it actually was a tragedy that it wasn't Conor to be headlining the Sphere the other night. Of course, O'Malley and Marab are great guys, and I loved watching the fight, but as far as that magnitude of event, I just thought it was a tragedy.
Yes, Conor would have been a great, guy to headline that event. Truly.
I think so. And I just think that was a tragedy that he wasn't the main guy. But look, obviously it wasn't meant to be, and God has other plans for everybody. But I just think, I would love to see him back. Maybe another Sphere event next year or something, that would just really,
I swear that Dana White said it's a one and done event.
No, I don't. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Now maybe Conor would change his mind though. You know
I'm
yourself,
telling
Conor.
you.
Yeah, Conor is that has that power. You know.
Yes, definitely. He's got that influence. Conor McGregor is the UFC, according to him. And interestingly, he's invested in BKFC as well. You know,
That's right. Yeah.
yeah. That was earlier this year. I was speaking with BKFC president David Feldman. I had him on the podcast. So he was talking about some big news, about to happen. That time he had already had the negotiations with Conor McGregor, and Conor invested 200 million, you know, into BKFC. And I think shortly after the podcast, they announced the the partnership with Conor McGregor. Like, what do you think about his, delving his investment in the BKFC?
Yeah, Conor. I think originally Conor was interested in the UFC because I know he's such a fan still of the sport and such a big believer and such of I think maybe Dana and the Fertitta brothers probably the big influence in Conor's life business wise, so I think that he admires them and but yeah, like that was his first interest, and I think then now obviously with the bare knuckle fight, I think he really is getting on board with the entertainment side of it, and he really sees the value in it. And at the end of the day, people want to watch that, and he's getting on board with it. And I mean, no better man for the face of mixed martial arts and combat than to be involved with that. I think it's a great move by them, even the likes of Dave and that getting him involved. So I think Conor's only going to grow it.
Definitely.
Just another avenue now for another fires, and it's a different sport, and I wish the boys all the best. Like I said, it's another business endeavor for Conor, and which is great.
Interesting. You spoke about this fair, right? I'm still yet to recover from that event. So let me tell you what happened last Saturday. Interested. Because you and me were in the same space basically on Saturday,
That's right.
Yeah, you were in the cage. I was just, a few meters away from you, watching you. I'm sure if I check my phone, I'm still going to see like the videos I recorded from your fight. I was at OVO Arena, Wembley, for the whole of the Bellator event. And when I left Bellator, I came straight home to come and watch UFC
Yeah.
306 fair.
Love it,
Like,
man. Love it.
at the end of the night, I think, we are on the same time zone. You're in Ireland, I'm here in London, right? So yeah, we're on the same time zone. I think UFC ended like around 6:30 a.m. thereabout.
Yeah, we were about that.
Yeah, I was knackered, bro. I
Ah,
was
you would, man. You
knackered
would.
because I went to Bellator here on the 16th watching UFC. The event was fantastic, phenomenal. Like I described it as the elite level display of arts. You know, mixed martial arts, digital arts, physical arts. It was just arts in the highest and the purest form.
Of
Like,
course, and such a big
you know,
stage for it.
I'm telling you, it's crazy that, the Sphere was the star of the event, right? No disrespect to, Sean O'Malley, Merab. Yeah, they are big stars in the sport, right? But the the venue sort of just, overshadowed, the stardom of this high level fighters that we had. And, that's why we think probably Conor McGregor would have been like the best kind of person to headline that kind of event. But, it's so crazy that even if you put me to go fight at this fair, it will still be a big event
Oh, yeah,
because
of course.
you don't.
Yeah, no, it's the event itself. It's the venue. It's the magnitude of the event. And
Mhm,
don't get me wrong, like it was a great event and stuff, and it was
mhm,
great fights, and the whole Mexican vibe and stuff. But
mhm.
definitely, I think it missed that stardom of a Conor. Like, and no man, he's a star in himself, but I just think Conor was the man to do that. But it is what it is.
Conor should have been the man. So do you think the UFC will probably change their mind and, have another event at this fair?
I think so. Only for Conor, though. I think only for Conor.
$20 million,
Yeah, I
Like
think only for Conor. I think he would fill a few gaps financially there to make that happen for them.
a few gaps. Speaking of, one of the greatest of all time. Okay, if you are Irish, if I were to ask you probably who are like your top 5 MMA fighters of all time, I guess Conor will probably appear on that list. So let me put you on the spot now. So who would you say are your top 5 of all time?
Irish first.
The top 5 greatest MMA fighters of all time.
Not Irish. So
No,
that's a
globally,
tough one.
globally.
Globally, I'd say it's all the usual suspects. I would say one of them that I let's just rattle off a few names. I would say Demetrius Johnson, technically probably the best ever. It has to be in there.
Wow, you know something? God bless you. God bless you, big time. God bless you. Because I was actually going to ask you about, Beatrice Johnson. He retired recently, right? I was going to ask you about his legacy, but then it's really refreshing and fantastic to know that you give him his flowers, rate him really highly to, mention his name first. Because in terms of the sporting accomplishment, we're not talking about the commercial viability, right? We know he's not like a commercial star like Conor McGregor, like Easy, like Israel Adesanya, like John Jones, for example. But in terms of strictly the sporting accomplishments, this man is, technically,
I know he's
yeah, the
I'd
greatest.
say technically he's the best ever. I'd say he could he could do it all everywhere, and the things he done was unbelievable. Fight both stances, wrestle, clinch, submissions, knockouts. It was unbelievable to watch. And then obviously John Jones is in there, of course. I mean, undefeated in the sense that he's only one disqualification lost. I love John Jones. He was kind of the fighter I was watching when growing up. But the only thing that would for me, nothing to do with personality or anything, but the failed drug test, that's the only thing that would, I don't know about the ins and outs of it. I'm not
Yes,
getting into,
yes.
but just that'll always hang over in his head, and I
Uh-huh.
don't know if he did or not. And, but then you have the likes of the GSPs, Anderson Silvas, of course, all these lads are in there. But one person I will say that, you know, you know, I think I have to mention would be like the likes of BJ Penn, just for the fact that he fought in so many different weight classes, and he, I read his book and stuff, and just how much of a talent he was, and just
Uh-huh.
I suppose he
Was
had that
a
talent, but then he
prodigy.
didn't. He was, he had that kind of just that Hawaiian spirit in him, and just that kind of fighter, and I think he's up there as well. I don't think he gets enough credit. Well, I think the old school guys would give him enough, but yeah,
Yeah.
like the likes of them, the Fader or many, yeah, because there's so many, so
Like
very, very
so
hard.
many guys. But it's crazy how, the new school fans of the sport do not really, relate with, some of the greats of the past. And I think you mentioned Anderson Silva. A lot of people, especially the new school fans, right, got to watch Anderson Silva, at the period of his decline. When he was
Yeah,
literally out of the sport, when he was losing to the likes of Easy, Jared Cannonier, he lost to Uriah Hall. Those losses in some way sort of kind of diminished the quality of the legacy he had built. They did not seem when he was on that 16 fight win streak tier. Anderson Silva, is high up there among the GOATs.
big time,
You need to be a true student of the sport.
definitely, definitely.
Yeah. So I like the fact you mentioning, some of the old guys, the Fedor Emelianenko of the sport, the Russian monster. Fedor. Then who else? Who else are you mentioning? I think Fedor never fought in the UFC. He's like one of the greatest guys to never fight in the UFC.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's another tragedy, but fighting for pride and stuff, and the guys he did fight, I mean, it's well known, So yeah, like I mean, so many great names, but they the names that come to mind, and of course the Diaz brothers as well. I think their mentality and who relate to it a lot and their fighting style, I think it's well known that if probably consensus, a general consensus, everybody probably would think if they were to fight, there's not many that would beat those guys in the time limit, no time
Uh-huh.
limit of fight, because I don't think there's many that would, have, I think they'd probably be many many a men, if there was no time limit, so. But again, it's a sport, and we're in the 15 minutes or the 25 minutes, and of course, yeah, it's pure fighters and pure martial artists. Those guys it's insane,
Yeah, and of course, I think Nate Diaz was the first person to defeat Conor McGregor in
That's
the
right.
UFC.
Well, not the
Yeah,
first. It was first in the UFC, yeah.
in the UFC. Yeah, in the UFC.
Yeah,
So it's quite interesting. Great guys.
yeah.
It's always it's always beautiful to have these conversations with an MMA mind. There's just this thing with students of the sport. Like the true students of the sport understand the past, you know, and the present. But a lot of people, I think, especially the casuals, they only can relate to the present day of the sport. So they really can't tell, the glory eras. There are some people, Conor McGregor brought them into the sport. Some people, Ronda Rousey brought them into the sport. And I think in recent times, there are people that, what's his name? The guy who headlined the Sphere.
Oman,
O'Malley, yeah, yeah. So there are some people that O'Malley has brought into the sport. There are some people that Isola Adesanya has brought into the sport. We have like eras. There are some people that Anderson Silva brought into the sport. John Jones brought into the sport. Like we have like different eras of the superstars that people. And you were a big fan of the WWE, so we at some point we had the crossovers from WWE. There's this I'm trying to remember his name. The guy who became heavyweight champion. He
I'm
was
not sure.
I'm trying to
Brock Lesnar.
Mm, Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was recent though, or you're on about like obviously Triple H is kind of involved there now that he's kind of the main man. He was obviously the champion. Yeah, obviously Brock Lesnar coming over and yeah,
Yeah.
which that was a great time as well. That was kind of when I was first getting into the sport, 2011,
Mhm.
and yeah, he was the main man. But yeah, there you go.
Yeah. But at what point did you start training MMA? Did you start with boxing or something? Because a lot of people do not train MMA directly. They have like another background that transition into MMA. So how did you get into the sport?
Yeah, so I did a bit of boxing when I was young, like a couple of months here and there, like when I was 12, 13, but like nothing major, like, so like every kind of kid in Ireland, most people growing up kind of try their hand at some sort of, bit of
Mhm.
boxing or something, so I did a bit of that, like, and then, but nothing major, never competed, I learned how to close my fist and throw a punch all right, but I never like, and I never competed or anything, but yeah, so I started off in that and then into mixed martial arts then straight away then.
So you started competing straight away in mixed martial arts. So the amateur versus the pro, like how many amateur fights did you have before going pro?
I had 24.
24. That's massive. That's a big number.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
A lot of people don't have up to 24 before the GoPro. Like, what did motivate you to go pro? At what point did you discover, okay, I'm good at this thing and this is what I want to do in my life?
I think maybe when I was about 20, that's when I went to SPG Ireland. I'm from a place called Drogheda, like you mentioned at the intro. Drogheda is an hour drive from Dublin. Well, from where I train. Myself and my brother at the time were committed to we're gonna go right. We're gonna go for this now. We were training about 4 years at the time at several amateur fights, and I was like, right, we're gonna, commit to this now, and we're gonna go all in, and yeah, that was it then, and then we just said, right, that's it. We're gonna, did our routes out. We were commuting every day, buses, trams, to get to the gym, and we did it, and I did that for 4 years, traveling up and down, and I was amateur there for another 4 years, and until I went professional, and thank God I was able to start driving, and like I said, thank God it worked out. It's my full time job now. It's my full time commitment. So I give it all my energy, and yeah, it's going good, and long may it last.
Fantastic. Thank God it did work out. Thank God it did work out. So there's a hot topic, when it comes to fighters, and that's the fighter pay. A lot of people try to compare boxing pay to MMA pay, right? But what would you say, being a fighter, you've got skin in the game, right? So what would you say about, the whole comparison of MMA versus boxing pay?
I'm going to be completely honest. I'm not 100% sure of the boxers' pay of the, you know, I suppose the average professional fighter. I don't know. I do know there is some professional fighters to boxing that they literally have guys fighting for free just to build their records up and stuff. You can look at it on both ends, but as far as mixed martial arts, it's the, you know, if you're in this sport for money, you're in the wrong sport. You know, because even when you are, like, say, in a good position, say myself, you know, you're taxed a lot of that money, and you know, don't get me wrong, it is great, I made it, but it's kind of just, it probably would work out just for me. It's the dream of being able to do my dream job and get paid for it well, but it's not like, you know, I don't have, I don't have my own home. I don't, have any other luxuries that anybody else has or anything, So, of course, I'm still working towards that, and I'm still a young man, but it's not as if I have, it's only the very small percentage, like my coach John Campbell said, there's only one man I know and have trained or in mixed martial arts for that case, that has made retirement money. Even when people win $1 million tournaments or win money, like, they're still doing their podcasts, and they're still, I suppose that's to keep them busy as well, but they're still trying to make money outside of their career and stuff. So I'm fully aware of that, and I know of another 30 years of my life after fighting that what am I going to do in my life, So I know even if, I'll never be a millionaire at this, or if I do, it's not going to be, it's not going to be retirement money, So I'm fully aware of that. So as far as the fighters pay, it's not like, again, I think generally everybody's in it for the love of it, because if you don't love this and you're in it for money, you're going to be disappointed. And as well, it's a very tough game to not be doing if you don't love it,
Like, I kind of feel like for boxing, it's quite top heavy. The top guys, make that retirement money, right? But MMA, the top guys are not, really making that retirement money. You need to be like extra smart, with what you make, to try to invest it in like different ventures. But when it comes to the bottom, MMA seems to be like more organized because you have the promotions that take care of things, take care of the fighters, right? But boxing,
no, definitely. They're more organized. We're definitely more organized, and I think, generally the best guys are in one place, and the world champions are the world champions. There's not like 10 promotions that call themselves world champions that are recognized, but it's definitely more organization there, but which is the good thing.
But boxing, you have literally a lot of promoters, right? And then you have guys, like you said, fighting for free.
Literally. So it's a tough game.
But people tend to look more at the top instead of looking at the whole, and it's just sparking the whole conversation, the whole debate of fighter pay. Even people like what's his name, Jake Paul, have come into the conversation.
He's coming in now as well, and so, like, I mean, of all these guys coming in and making money, and it's tough. It's tough to see that as well, and I mean, fair dues to them. I'm sure that they're trained like professionals and they're athletes in their own right, but it is tough to see that, you have a bit of a name, and then you can make more money than the guys that are in it so many years, So, but look, unfortunately, that's the world we live in. People want to be entertained, and you don't care. It's kind of like your name, but it is what it is.
Influencer boxing has come to stay, sort of. And a lot of them are acting like a menace. But what do you think about these gimmicky fights? It's crazy. They are making the big box, right? And making professional fighters look stupid. But
look, I'm not a fan of it. I'll never watch it. I have no interest. It's not something I'm going to learn from. If there was a 30-second clip on Instagram, I'll watch it. But if it's sitting up and watching it, I won't. I don't even stay up for the UFCs anymore. I watch it the day after. It messes me up for the week with my sleep. So I watch it the day after.
I'm telling you, it is. It's
And
tough staying up. It's really, really tough, especially for those of us, in Europe and Africa. Like the timing is not like very, very friendly for us because it's American prime time. But Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. What are your thoughts?
I just, I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't want to see Mike Tyson in there at that age, or he's a fighter. He's one of the greatest boxers ever, one of the greatest personalities ever. There's only one Mike Tyson, the same as only one Muhammad Ali, but to see him in there, 60 years of age, fighting a young man, I don't see the sense in it. It's igniting his ego, I suppose. Look, fighting your ranked opponents, or fighting actual. I don't mean actual boxers, but like in the sense like not just names. That were fighters or are fighters and or mixed martial arts fighters and stuff. I'd rather see him like, okay, if you want to be a boxer, let's put you in there with X, Y, and Z and start climbing the ranks and be a proper boxer then. You know, yeah, not a fan of those fights.
I am telling you, I don't have a problem with the gimmicky fights, but fighting Mike Tyson for me, it's a no-no. Personally, I don't want to see that fight happen. I pray it never happens because Mike Tyson is like one of my childhood heroes, and see him, fighting a Jake Paul. Come on, like, I don't know. He just feels like the universe is in a state of disarray. And when I heard that he couldn't make the fight due to some health issues, I just felt like this is the universe correcting itself. So
Yeah, no. I just think, yeah, I just think, I'm happy it didn't. Thank God it didn't. That
I hope so. I hope so. But then I hear they're still trying to, get the fight back in place. Hopefully, like you and me, we pray it doesn't happen. Another hot topic, in the world of combat sports. It happened recently, the Olympics, right?
yeah.
We have so-called transgenders, fighting in female sports. Like, what's your take on that? Like having a
I,
transgender male fighting as a female.
as far as I know, there was a lot of mix up to that situation. So I don't really know, and I don't know enough knowledge on the comment on it, to be honest with you.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I think that girl was actually, she was a girl, and God love her as well. She came under a lot of scrutiny as well. So I don't
Yeah.
know the ins and outs of it. So I'd rather not comment on it or talk about that because I don't know, the ins and outs of that girl's situation. And yeah, so she was Algerian. That's all I know, and she won.
Yeah, the Algerian
Um,
girl.
yeah, so I
I
don't
mean,
know.
Khalif is something.
Yeah, so I don't know. I know there was Irish boxers actually that far before and better. They were, so I don't. Again, like I said, I don't know the situation.
Uh-huh.
And I think anyone that doesn't have knowledge of any situation shouldn't comment on it.
Shouldn't
Yeah,
even make a comment. Just
that's just it.
because what I heard about the situation was that she's biologically female, but she had high levels of testosterone, right? And then some people were calling for having her go through hormonal therapy to reduce the levels of testosterone. I think that happened with the South African athlete, the runner, at some point. Semenya, yeah, that's the name, Casa Semenya. So the athletic, regulation body sort of restricted her from competing at some point and told her to go through some therapy to reduce her high levels of testosterone, right? So that it can be within like some sort of permitted levels for a female athlete to compete. But it's just been sparking a lot of debate and controversy lately. Like, she did not create herself, right? She's biologically female. So why would you say that she should, take hormonal therapy to reduce her levels of testosterone?
Yeah, it's all crazy, man. I don't really, again, like that's not my sport. I wouldn't really know much about it. And yeah, when you can look into, you start going into the cracks of all the things. But like I said, I haven't the clue. I don't know. I don't follow the sport, so it's all print paper, in my opinion. All these things.
In paper. Let's come back to MMA, right? You're 10-0, right? Undefeated. But a lot of people tend to see, undefeated athletes like you are a superhuman, but you know it yourself, you're not superhuman. You face challenges, in there before. What would you say have been your biggest challenges so far in the sport?
Biggest challenges, that's, I suppose, be as of recent, just kind of, getting the getting through the training, trying to stay healthy. And yeah, it's a fine line between going hard enough and not too hard that you're going to get sick or injured or anything. So that's definitely been the challenge for me the last while. It always has been, and yeah, it's something I'm still getting my finger on. But yeah, I've the best guys around me, whether it be nutrition wise, strength and conditioning, and of course my coaches for skills. Yeah, so it's all of them things. But that's what I'd definitely say. It's a tough sport. It's the training, the injuries, the sacrifice, the support around you that you need, and everybody else suffers around you as well. It's very tough, and it's of course it's me and there on their own, but it's a team sport in the sense of what goes into it. And like I said, the support you get from your family and your my partner. Yeah, it's a it's a team behind you.
Yeah, I did. It's speaking of support from the family, I did see the family, and I was actually impressed with, the support in the arena. Like you need to get into the arena to feel the support. Like they are behind you. The sound, the noise, it could even be intimidating to an opponent. You get it. Like,
Oh
whoa.
no, listen, it's I wouldn't be where I am without my support, and like that. Yeah, that's it. Like I've gotten the support from my family, my friends, sponsorships, my team, all the people that put time into me day in day out. That's just a cumulative of that time and love and support of and regardless if it is my next 10, I know that I've always gotten that support, and it's amazing.
Interesting. Speaking of support, a lot of people see MMA as a physical game, but a lot of it is mental. Like, do you want to speak to the mental part of the sport?
Yeah, so it's for me, not many people mention, but it's a very spiritual, it's a spiritual battle as well. It's all them three things. It's probably mentally would be making the right decisions, and then spiritually it's not not giving in to the not feeding the wrong fire. And yeah, like that, I just prepare myself the best way I can physically. Of course, it's a physical sport. You have to go in there and physically do what you have to do, but mentally and spiritually, that's where you really have to be armored, and that's where I feel. That's when I lean on God. If I was to do this alone, this sport, well, as we all know, if you to do anything alone in life, you'd be disappointed because we always let ourselves down, and that's just our human fault. We're weak, so I know that, and without God I wouldn't be able to do anything. So I just know I have to be well armored, well prepared, and I hope for that. I hope I am. I hope I'm worthy enough, and to take the wins and the losses, be humble in victory, and gracious in defeat, and that's it. That's all I prepare for you.
I like that, win, lose or draw, you stay focused, in and victory you stay grateful, and of course in losses you stay graceful. You say, without God you can't do anything. Reminds me of Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. And
Exactly.
one of my favorite scriptures, like without God we are nothing. Looking at the sport, the mental side, the physical side, right? In order to enhance that physical capacity, the physical capabilities, right? You need to ensure that your health and fitness, is on point. You need to ensure that your diet and nutrition is also on point. So, like, what's the health and fitness, routines or regimes, right? And like, in terms of the diet and nutrition, like, what do you go for?
As far as the fitness thing, it's always something that I love training. I love anything to do with that makes me a better fighter, whether that be running, any type of training. I don't enjoy weightlifting, but I do it to keep me injury free and stuff. But as far as the martial arts training, upskilling all the time, I really enjoy that. I love the process, or what would you say? What was the process of learning something, seeing something, and picking up on it, and then trying it in the gym, and if it works, you keep it. And then, I suppose that moment when you're catching something, you're really enjoying it, and you learned it, and it's working for you, and you made it your own, and then maybe you start learning more things about it and stuff, and do it better ways. I just really enjoy that, and I always look forward to fights. It's kind of like my chance to make my own highlight reel and what I've been working on in the gym, and again, like that, give back to the time that the coaches are putting into me. So yeah, that's what I really enjoy. And then as far as the diet, which is something that is so important, it's to make a weight, of course, number one, which is such a hard thing, is you're trying to make a weight and you're trying to fuel your training, so that's very hard to get the balance between the two. And for me, I don't drink alcohol much. Probably could count in my hand how many times a year I would, just to socialize, or to and most of the time it's kind of after my fights to catch up with friends after the night. But for me, it'd be the food. I love food. I enjoy food. I just enjoy the simple things in life when it comes to things like that. Meeting up with a friend for a tea or a coffee, or family get-togethers and stuff, and really enjoy that. So that's obviously the hardest part, is the diet. Is trying to stay on top of that, and and then of course when you're training so much, 2-3 times a day, sometimes you're always hungry, so you're trying to fuel your body, and then so that's kind of the hard part, and people don't realize the sacrifices when it comes to things like that, like
sacrifice.
And but look, as I said, it comes hand in hand with the game. There's a love for the hate of it, if that makes sense. And what I mean by that is, you love it that much that you do the things you hate, and you do it because you love it that much that it's gonna work out for you in the end.
Interesting. You're Irish, right? And I've only been to Northern Ireland, right? I've been to Belfast. I think I'm going to Belfast again very soon. But it's interesting to see somebody, that is Irish, the home of Irish whiskey, the home of Irish cream, the home of Guinness, telling me that I don't drink much alcohol. I can understand there's so much temptations to always drink alcohol, from the pubs to the hanging out, it's always just in your face. How do you cope?
I know. I don't, to be fair to me, I don't. A lot of people have. That'd be their temptation. That wouldn't be my temptation when it comes to drinking. I could never drink again, to be honest, for the rest of my life, and it wouldn't bother me. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy it, and I'm able to. I have a good relationship with it, in the sense that I can enjoy it and not, or I can take it or leave it. It doesn't bother me. So, but yeah, like that. It is a thing that's culturally, a big Irish thing, and
it's always in your face.
yeah, it's just it's part of our culture, and don't get me wrong, people really enjoy it and stuff, but yeah, like that, for me, it's not a temptation, and I'd never miss it. I could never drink again, wouldn't bother me. So but yeah, I know what you're saying. It's funny,
because I've been there, and like when it's all put in your face, you're like, okay, I surrender. I'll take a bit. So you don't look awkward,
Yeah. You're trying to socialize.
especially in the social gatherings, they put it to you like, okay, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Like weight cuts, is a really, really big deal in the sport, but a lot of people who are not close to the sport do not realize it, right? But in recent time, there's been like a lot of dietitians, nutritionists, strength and conditioning coaches that work with the athletes, right? And try to help them with the whole weight cut thing. And then some people say weight cut is a science, right? Not an art. Like for you, what's your approach to weight cut? And do you think weight cut is a science?
Yeah, big time. It's very hard to explain to someone that doesn't know anything about it. It's weight loss. There's a certain amount of time that it's fat loss, and then there's a certain amount of time that it's weight loss, and it's very hard to explain to someone that you could lose 10 pounds plus in a few days, or how many hours even, and it's very hard to explain to someone. But there's a science to it, and it's just kind of really is. It's actually it's an appreciation for the body and of God's creation, to be honest, that what we can do with our bodies. And you know, it is amazing. And then there's such, I'm very blessed to be working with an absolute genius, Tristan Kennedy, who looks after all that for me to make the weight. And then I've never missed weight in over 30 fights, amateur and pro. And you know, thankfully I'm working with Tristan the last few fights, and you know, he's been a game changer for me. So yeah, so what it is, there's definitely a science to it.
So typically at the end of the pod, right, we usually have like a question from a previous guest, and then, you know, you ask a question to the next guest. So I think I'll give you a very simple one from one of the previous guests, and that is, you know, what would you like your legacy to be?
Oh, okay. Wow, that's a good one. There you go, man. Fair play. That's a good one. What I'd say is, what I'd like to be remembered for is that, you know, someone that just was himself, that he just you know, he did it his way, in the sense, you know, I suppose not my way, because there's always God's way, but you know, I suppose that someone that just stayed true to himself, didn't change, you know, and yeah, fought with faith, you know.
Interesting. So what question would you like to leave for the next guest?
What would I like to ask is, oh, okay, let me see, that's a good one. Let me see, that's a good one. Let me see.
Anything simple. It could be very
Anything.
simple.
Okay.
Somebody was even asking the other time, what's your dream car?
Okay. It's just, okay. So what I ask is, what has
Biggest adversity to date? Wow, that's massive. That is massive.
no,
That's a tough one.
I'm setting you up for the next one.
Whoa. Do you want to leave shout outs for anybody before you get out of here, my bro?
Look, I just want to say thanks to all my support, everybody, sponsors, family, friends, partner Lauren, coaches, SPG Ireland. Yeah, thank you very much, and thanks to yourself.
And of course, thank you very much. I really, really appreciate you. I appreciate your time, bro.
Thank you.